we do expect to be able to expedite a development pathway after an appraisal well is drilled. And as I mentioned, to be able to produce about 300 million cubic feet per day of gas to LNG projects. And for context, that's the equivalent of about 50,000 barrels per day.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. Joining me is Sunda Energy CEO, Andy Butler. Andy, good to speak with you today. Could we start with the delay? Can you give investors a bit more colour on the logistical challenges that force you to push Chuditch to drilling into 2026?
Good morning, Stephen. Thank you. Yes, absolutely, I can. Before I do so, if you'll forgive me, I may just step back a little bit and remind listeners and viewers that what the Chuditch field is about. So Chuditch is a large gas field in the Timor Sea between Timor-Leste and Australia, within Timor-Leste waters that we've been working up for the last few years, and are moving towards drilling. It's a field that working with the government of Timor-Leste, we expect to be able to deliver about 300 million cubic feet per day on a long plateau for a long time. So we see a lot of value there. And just as an observation, actually, for context, for again, viewers may have seen that our large neighbour Santos is subject to a takeover today in the news from ADNOC, the Abu Dhabi-led group, demonstrating really the value of gas projects in this area. So, we do see this as a highly valuable project. Unfortunately, we've had a little bit of a delay. Nobody likes to see a delay. And it has come down to a logistical issue, as you ask, and as we've announced this morning. So to be specific, really that delay comes down to providing helicopter support to the operation. And what that's about is essentially Chuditch is a long way offshore. It's about 200 nautical miles from the airfields that we wish to operate from in Timor-Leste. The helicopter supplier in Timor-Leste, it's a large, reputable outfit. It's the largest in Southeast Asia, operates a big fleet of aircraft. And so our plan, as previously discussed and announced, following a general meeting that we had on the 12th of May and the approval by shareholders of our funding arrangements, was to sign a rig contract, and we were ready to do so a day or two later. However, it came to light at a very late stage that the helicopters that were actually available to us were unable to fulfill the job, and despite their best endeavours and assurances, were unable to provide helicopters that were sufficiently and sufficient range to service the operation. And so, unfortunately, we've hit this timing issue where they need more time to find helicopters that are able to get out to that location, and we are unable to progress without, of course, the adequate equipment to do the job. So really, long-winded answer, I'm sorry, Stephen, but in essence, it's having the right equipment at the right time, where we've been somewhat let down just at that last minute. It's a bit of a delay. It's a bit of a frustration, a very large frustration for the team, but we'll move on with the operation, planning towards that.
The farming agreement with TIMOR GAP has now lapsed. What are the prospects for renegotiating a new deal, and how confident are you in securing a new partner?
Well, I think, as you state, we are continuing to move forward in plans for the operation, and TIMOR GAP is already our partner. The farm out arrangement was for them to take an enhanced piece. We will continue to discuss with them all aspects of funding and their level of involvement. And then they're heavily involved in the preparations that we are making. So we are obviously maintaining those discussions. I would say, however, as I mentioned earlier, that with a lot of interest in the region around gas projects, we do see quite a lot of interest. I'm confident that between existing discussions and other interest that's out there, that we will find a way forward. To some extent, there's a silver lining there in the delay, that the funding arrangements that we have in place, both through the farm out and through the convertible loan notes that we announced on the 24th of April and issued the first tranche of, can be all aspects of funding can be revisited as we continue with the preparations. And maybe I should just say a little bit more about the status of those preparations, because again, as I mentioned earlier, there's a delay there, but a tremendous amount of work has been done and is ongoing in preparation for the drilling campaign, particularly the environmental permitting, which often is the thing that introduces delays. That work is ongoing, and we expect to get that issued in that next month or so. And all the engineering work, all the logistical planning, all of the subsurface work, etc., all is there. The team is still there, sort of ready to go. So little bit of a delay around that. Financing is one part of all of those preparations, so we have the opportunity to revisit aspects of it, including the farm up with Timor GAP, and it introduces opportunities for other investors to get involved in the project as well.
Andy, you've mentioned the softening rig markets. How much flexibility does this give you on securing a modern rig at better rates for 2026 drilling?
Good question. Actually, a lot of opportunity, I believe. I mean, when we were sourcing rigs for this project, the rig market was extremely tight. We had a rig that was in the vicinity that was available to us, but essentially it was the only rig. There was effectively 100% utilization of jackup rigs appropriate for these shallow water depths in the Asia Pacific region. That situation, that is no longer the case. The actual rig we were planning to use is departing the region and has been sold, but across Southeast Asia, there are a number of more rigs on the market. Many of them are more efficient, younger units that can do the job very effectively. It's pretty straightforward drilling that we plan to do, that we're preparing to do. So, there is a larger pool that's available to us. It's a supply and demand thing. I think we expect to be able to access more effective rigs, hopefully at better rates than we were getting previously. So again, there's a bit of a silver lining there to a delay, and we're very focused on realising that.
I mean, you've emphasized the long-term value of Chuditch despite the short-term delay, Andy. What makes this project so attractive to potential partners?
Well, I think really it's the integration of the project. As I mentioned earlier on, the state of Timor-Leste is very keen that we move forward. They're as disappointed as we are to see this delay, which has been essentially unavoidable, albeit unforeseen. We do expect to be able to expedite a development pathway after an appraisal well is drilled, and as I mentioned, to be able to produce about 300 million cubic feet per day of gas to LNG projects. And for context, that's the equivalent to about 50,000 barrels per day. Of course, as it stands at the moment, we retain a very significant equity in that. So I think we do see that we see the value in it. Our modelling shows that it's a valuable project. External analysts are showing good value associated with the project. As I mentioned earlier on, there's acquisitive interest in the area, and so it's all very much to play for there.
Andy, perhaps moving beyond Timor-Leste, how about some of your other projects, such as the Philippines?
Well, thank you. Yeah, we've talked about before. I mean, the Philippines is where we have two applications for two blocks outstanding. It has taken a little while for those to be awarded, and purely because it sits with the office of the president. We are expecting to see those move towards award very soon. They are pending purely presidential signature. That's the president of the country. That's the constitutional requirement in the Philippines for these resource projects. But it's out there. It's essentially ready to go. We're just waiting for an invitation to that signing.
Well, Andy, I hope you'll keep us posted on progress on both of those. Thank you very much for taking the time today.
Thank you, Stephen. Good to see you. Cheers.
And you. Andy Butler, the CEO of Sunda Energy.